Special summon. Oh, get Nibiru, you filthy scrub! Okay. Monster Reborn. Special summon. Effect. Hey. Summon. Nani? Special summon. Special summon. Special summon. Special summon. Stop! Stop!
Special summon?
That's why no one likes you! And Borload Savage, IP, and Appaloosa set 1 pass. Go ahead. Hey guys, it's Tom Box, and I'm sure it's occurred to you at some point, at least it's crossed your mind, that you use a Nibiru against your opponent expecting the best results, only for your opponent to completely bypass it, and then you realize, hey, you're completely losing as the turn progresses. And perhaps it's occurred more than once. At some point, you start to dread even having the card in your hand to begin with. It's like, oh, it doesn't even do anything. And I'll just straight up say it. Nibiru in this current format kind of sucks. Now, I know some of you guys are going to disagree with me. No, man, Nibiru is so strong. Every single time I get hit by it, it completely crushes my board. Yeah, if you get taken by surprise by Nibiru, yeah, it is a very powerful card. But we'll talk about Nibiru in the context of the current quote-unquote format. And hopefully this will help you think like a better duelist and perhaps help you get one step ahead when it comes to your next tournament. And hopefully by the end of this video, you learn a little bit more about adapting to the meta. Now, before we jump into this topic, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, ding notification bell if you want to stay up to date with MST.TV or myself. And also follow me on Instagram at TomBoxTV. Yeah, but you'd be surprised on what's there. It'd probably make you guys pretty hungry. But yeah, enough about that. Let's go back into this topic. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys my perspective as an old school veteran player just so that this part is a little bit more digestible. I've been playing this game for like competitively like for 13 plus years, so yeah, old school player. Okay, boomer. Someone's probably gonna say that down in the comments. But yeah, every format in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a handful of cards that basically define the meta. These are the cards I like to call the Meta Gatekeeper cards. That's the threshold you need to be at least so that you can even play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Otherwise, you just straight up lose whenever those cards get dropped on you, and you probably just are one of those guys on Dueling Book or whatever saying no excuse, no whatever summon. Yeah, you guys are stuck in the old school world. But anyways, you guys, we make predictions on what's good or not based off of those cards that are there, and these cards eventually change over time as new products get released or new strategies are discovered to kind of push the envelope. That's usually when you get someone's YCS results and they're like, oh, I played this because it can handle it, yada yada yada. That's basically what it is. These Meta Gatekeeper cards are these boss cards. Some examples of those cards would be like Apocryphal Towers during the during the Duelist Alliance days and the the new Challenger days. Cliff Force was super strong, and Necros, you guys people had to completely adapt their playstyle to Necros because, oh, I can't leave a card on the field because I'm gonna get completely wrecked by Trish. Masterpiece was one of those cards. Thunder Dragon Colossus was another really good one because these cards define how you can play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Nibiru is also one of these cards where combos are now in check because of Nibiru. So you can kind of say Nibiru kind of rocked the world of combos. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna stop making these silly jokes. So Nibiru, nowadays, when you have it in your hand, how did it get from one of the most awesome hand traps to stop your opponent from comboing to one of the ones that you just don't want to play anymore? And you either fall into these three camps. A, your opponent sets up a negation for Nibiru by the 5th summon. B, they pick up where Nibiru left off, Monster Reborn. Or C, they didn't summon enough for you to Nibiru to begin with. So those are the three camps. Or, I don't know, maybe there's D, you completely crush your opponent's board, but you have no follow-up because you gave him a really fat token. Well, that's just on you. So let's look at the top 3 decks we have right now. We have Adamantipator's, one of the key decks out here. We have Eldritch, another very strong contender and performs really well. And then finally we have some variations of Invoked. It could be within the Eldritch, could be in Shadal's, could be in any other deck, but someone's shoving in Invoked somewhere, and there's just a lot of variations on Invoked right now. Okay, those are the 3 most represented, I would say, currently. Every other deck right now that are combo based, whether it be Salamangreat, whether it be Dragon Link, even for Dragon Link, they can play through that Nibiru as well very easily. But in other words, everyone has some form of strategy to deal with Nibiru because it's been in the format long enough. People know that the 3 key ways to defeat Nibiru is don't let them Nibiru you, pick up after Nibiru, or just Nibiru is completely irrelevant. Okay, let's look at Emancipators versus Nibiru. They're really good at dealing with Nibiru because they fall into 2 categories. They can set up the negate before the 5th summon, and they can also just pick it up from where it left off. After Nibiru gets dropped, they're like, whatever, we're rocks too. We can just rock on. So how does that work? For the Adamantimators, they can go into Kwakimeru Guardian through the excavation process of the excavation tuners, and that automatically just deals with Nibiru. But if they don't get that far, they also have the option of just using a level 2 and a level 2 to synchro into Herald of the Arc Light. That gives them an Omni Negation, and because we're in Master Rule 5, we don't have to care about the zoning anymore. Now you can just play through it if that was one of the options that you needed. So that's really cool and all. So what else is there? Well, you can completely pick up where Nibiru left off. So if Nibiru smashes your board, as long as you have Signs or Monster Reborn, you can just keep pushing. Or maybe you didn't use a Researcher, you got a Rock Token, you get Special Summon, and you can keep going. As long as you can go into a Christian Haklifabrax, you set up a Borload Savage, and you have the Herald of the Arc Light, which is why it is so scary when you try to Nibiru that deck and you're like, I don't care, I'm just gonna keep going. So that's like the difference between like a meta deck that can handle something like this, and this is again a really combo heavy deck that can adapt to the meta, and they're doing it very, very well. Now if you look at Eldritch is also capable of 2 options against Nibiru. One, set up the negation by the 5th summon, or B, they're just unaffected altogether because they don't even reach the 5th summon altogether. So how does that actually work? Well, first of all, let's just look at the invoked Eldritch build. That's the one that probably has more summons on the opening turn. So say they summon out the A-lister, that's 1, and then they get the search. Okay, now they convert it to an Almirage, and then they convert Almirage into Secure Gardna, and that's 3 summons right there. If they fusion summon at any point right now, that would be the 4th summon for the Mechaba. And with the Mechaba, that means they can negate your Nibiru. That's as easy as that. It's just guaranteed that the Nibiru won't go through anymore, and that's on the 4th summon. Say they even summoned out their Eldritch onto the field, now they have Golden Boy on the field. That's 5th summon, but the Mechaba is already on the field. And if they have Golden Boy before the Mechaba, that's only 4 summons. So in other words, it's guaranteed to, every single time they play through it, they're guaranteed to destroy your Nibiru. So there's no point even trying to use this card against them. That's why you should not main it. That's why a lot of people are actually opting not to play the card anymore. And that's why these cards are meta. And if you're shoving this like Nibiru into your side deck, it's really good still against other decks that are incapable of dealing with it, and you can actually skip their turn. Remember, the key impact here is trying to skip your opponent's turn before they're successfully able to build up anything. Nibiru kind of, backtracks them to square one, but there are other ways to do it. You can break someone's board. In fact, you should be probably focusing more on breaking someone's board instead. That's probably the better way to play the current format. And we kind of already talked about Invoked already because, Mechaba, they can prevent you from getting Nibiru by the 5th summon. But for Shaddoll Invoke, they have another option, which is to drop a Winda. Since Nibiru requires to summon 2 monsters, you cannot activate Nibiru as long as Winda already hit the field by the 5th summon. So that is another lockout option that they have, which is really good. Seems like all of the most popular decks, all the strongest deck right now, they have 2 ways of dealing with Nibiru. And knowing that Nibiru is such a gatekeeping, meta-defining card as a side deck, all the good players will have to learn to play around it because they don't want to drop games just because someone threw a rock at them. And even to step out of the meta circle, we have dragons and dinosaurs, we have Subterrors, Altergeist. Like Subterror, Altergeist being anti-meta based decks, control based decks, they're not really affected by Nibiru altogether. Then there is dragons. Dragons can either play through the Nibiru if they start off with a Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. You tribute that monster, they'll just keep going. They put a red MD on the field, revive a bunch of stuff, and they have a full board again. Dinosaurs, they have Miscellaneous Swords, making their monsters unaffected. Seems like everyone has some sort of counter strategy against Nibiru these days, but does that mean Nibiru will always be subpar moving forward? No, it doesn't mean that Nibiru is going to be subpar like forever. In fact, it's probably going to cycle in and out. Maybe currently it's not very good, but if a new deck gets introduced where it's weak against Nibiru, but it's good against all the other decks that are in the current top tier, then you can bet that as a result, Nibiru will be played again, and it's going to be in higher frequency, leading to anyone that can't really deal with Nibiru to begin with to be like, oh my god, everyone's playing Nibiru again. But the meta constantly adapts, it constantly cycles. It's not a static thing. And then you can say that, I think a lot of pros would probably agree that, just because someone puts out a deck profile, oh, I won this particular tournament, I won first place with it, even if you net deck them and copy them card for card, that's probably not the most effective strategy because all of the players are even better. They look at that and they're like, oh, I can probably adapt these new strategies to deal with that just so that I'm not going to be caught off guard by some surprise strategy. And that's what really makes the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So fun, is that it's just not the static thing. When the format gets stale, however, it does happen, like during the Necros format, when it's gotten so refined to a point where there is a most effective strategy where it does not get any better until new products get pushed in. That's when people start asking like, oh, when's the next ban list coming out? Because it's getting kind of boring. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's nice to kind of cycle things in and out. And another kind of quick tip here is make sure you guys have a side deck binder. I highly recommend you guys develop yourself a side deck binder. I had one that I've developed for quite some time now. It's just play sets of everything that I've ever used in the side deck, or things that other people have used in the side deck, just so that if something comes into the format and it plays very similarly to something that already existed, you can bet that those side deck cards would be effective against those particular decks as well. Anyways, that's my breakdown towards why Nibiru kind of sucks right now. Yeah, it's not really good because everyone somehow has another strategy against Nibiru, but hey, it might come back in the future. And hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about reading into the meta. Learn about the strategies that are being used most effectively and learning how to stop them. Is it better to preemptively hand trap them, or is it better to actually just break their board because we have the option to do so? And look at a pointer of the Red Lotus. Cards like that exist, and why did it come back into the meta is because people can't deal with Dark Ruler no more, because they're building these boards where, okay, Dark Ruler no more is my one key weakness. They adapt to the meta, they put that card in if they're going first, just so that Dark Ruler no more is not going to hurt them as badly. Or maybe if they have a sphere mode, you can get rid of that. It's just giving you that knowledge against your opponent on these big blowout cards is a pretty big deal. Anyways, that's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this discussion video, leave a comment down in the comment section. I would like to hear your suggestions and your thoughts relating to what you think about the current meta and how you have adapted to it. Hit thumbs up, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell to stay up to date with MST.TV, and I'll see you guys in the next one.